All right, time for this week's Fiscal Focus, as always brought to you by InfoChoice, your choice of information on Australian consumer finance. Now, despite Australia being a world-leading adopter of contactless payment technology, many of us are reluctant to ditch cash altogether, with new research from payment platform Waave revealing 71% of Australians are concerned about Australia moving toward a cashless society. Joining us to discuss is the co-founder and CEO of Waave, Ben Zyl. G'day, Ben. Welcome to the Savings Tip Jar.
Thanks very much, Dom.
Thanks for joining us, Ben. So we often hear in the news about cashless society, and there's a lot of backlash. There's been a few policies introduced or that tried to get across the line in recent years, banning cash transactions over 10,000 and whatnot. And a lot of it kind of, it's easy to dismiss as kind of tinfoil hat conspiracy stuff. But what exactly are Aussies concerned about going to a cashless society?
Yeah, well, in our findings, 63% of respondents said that going cashless will exclude certain groups and populations, leading to economic inequity. So they're generally concerned that we're going to exclude a big proportion of the population just because they won't be able to pay with what they're used to.
Now, Ben, we see from the report that those that are most concerned typically include baby boomers and regional Australians and also some lower income households. Why do you think they would be the most concerned about a cashless society?
So I believe they're concerned about a cashless society just because of the nature of technology. It's not something that they're used to using. A lot of the Gen Zers and millennials are happy to sort of whip out their phone. But even what we're seeing with a lot of these Gen Zs and millennials is that they're actually starting to be concerned about the surcharges that are associated with paying by cards, which actually make up about 58% of the respondents as well.
Sure. And in our lifetime, do you think we will be totally cashless, or is that still a ways off?
I don't think so. I think there's always this, and we're calling it cash nostalgia, that will remain around. We do like to hold cash. I know my kids love the fact that they've got their little money bank cash box where they keep cash, and they love that feeling of handing over cash to make a purchase. I do feel that we, as a population, like to get out our wallet and know how much we've actually got in our wallet, rather than that purely what we're becoming used to is just whipping out our phone and tapping. And often you'll see the case where you might get a decline in a transaction because there was no money in your bank account. So no, I don't think we're going to see a cashless future, but we will start seeing a decline in cash.
Now, Ben, you mentioned card surcharges just before and some of the concerns around that. Do you think, as we become more and more cashless, we'll see more of these surcharges or potentially even less?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we'll see more. In the hospitality industry, it's become quite rife where you buy a coffee or you go to a restaurant, and it's almost become accepted that you'll have to pay a surcharge as part of it. The RBA has sort of stipulated that it's okay to pass on the cost of acceptance, being with cards. What we will see is retailers will cotton on to that and then see a reason why they can actually pass on a surcharge. So you've gone from airlines to hospitality, cafes, restaurants, and then retailers will ultimately pass on that surcharge.
For sure. Yeah, the surcharges certainly create a kind of what was once an affordable looking lunch or a coffee, and the extra 20, 30, even 50 cents, it kind of adds up over time. But what's Waive's take on this? Waave is an online payments platform. And what was your opinion on the research that came out?
It was actually quite surprising when the research sort of came out. What we saw, we didn't expect so many people to be concerned in the different groups about going cashless. Our take is that we've got to educate people on the new means of paying and technologies. And there's actually got to be a value to the consumer. So it's got to be more secure. And that's what Waave is building with our Pay by Bank product. It's really looking out to how can we help people go and transition into this new generation of paying without actually removing that those good bits about having cash and making a transaction.
Now, Ben, we see it's not just the boomers that are concerned about going cashless. We also see, surprisingly, the younger generations, millennials and Gen Z have their concerns too. And in the report, it mentions how some of these younger generations are adopting these sort of social media trends called hashtag loud budgeting and hashtag cash stuffing. Can you tell us what that's all about?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think it's actually great to sort of jump on some of the social media platforms and have a look at it. What you're seeing with these Gen Zs and millennials is really this. It's about being cool when you're budgeting and only spending what you've actually got in your bank account, and rather than racking up huge amounts of debt through either buy now, pay later or credit cards as well.
Let's talk about the tradies. Ben. There's a kind of cash jobs secret economy in Australia, and it seems like it's impossible to get a sparky around to your house unless you're paying cash these days. So what's going to happen to the humble tradie cash job if we don't have any cash anymore?
I still think there'll be the humble tradie cash job sort of coming about. I know when I've got tradies, there's that prefer cash because it's an easy transaction, but I'd look at it as it's paying at that time when they're delivering the service or product or service. And that's probably what we're missing out. When you're actually saying, oh, let me pay it to your bank account, perhaps that tradie is not sure when they're going to receive the money and they've done the service. So we often refer to it as like bring back the handshake. And that's what cash does. It's you've provided a good or service and you've handed over the cash to complete the transaction. At Waave, we're trying to emulate that experience as well.
I guess, it is a bit of a time-honored tradition, the cash job. And so that's why really I think, surely cash will always have a place in society, which you've basically been suggesting anyway. And I guess you can't forget as well, cash is very useful in emergencies and blackouts, system outages. You can't always rely on technology. So cash will surely always have its place. So I guess my question to you is, why the push for a cashless society? Why are we seeing this? Why do we really need one?
I think it's just come back to education. The push for cashless society is really to bring us as the population back into something that's very familiar, trying to advance the population into losing what they hold very dear and near to them as cash. It's without any education or reason why, giving the benefits. It's a bit rich to sort of expect everyone to jump on it.
For sure. And Ben Zyl, that's all we have time for on the Savings Tip Jar podcast. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Ben.